Scottish luxury hi-fi brand Linn is 50 years old and still delighting ears worldwide with their attention to detail. Ed has got his hands on the Linn LP12 turntable. Now, Ed, is this the very turntable that LP12 started with at Linn all those years ago?
Yes, and at the same time, no. The LP12 has been in continuous direct production since 1972, so it is 50 years old, and the basic principles of the LP12 are exactly the same as they were all those years ago. It is a belt-driven turntable using a suspended subchassis, and the version that I tested, which is called the Select with a K, LP12, is recognisably the same as the original all the way back from the 1970s. Where it gets complicated is that there's almost not a single component that is exactly the same as it was back in 1972. If you were to find yourself an original unmolested Linn LP12 from this first production run, it is possible to make contact with your local friendly Linn dealer and have it turned into exactly the same specification as the LP12 that I reviewed in 2023. I have to stress, if you do find an original unmolested one, I'd leave that one be. I think that, it would be nice, or at least some of them, to survive in the condition to which they were originally sold. But no, any LP12 sold in any specification can be turned into, theoretically, any other LP12 in any other specification. It's not completely unheard of in audio circles, but Linn is by far the most adept at it with this particular turntable. And yes, in a world where we're trying to cut down on waste, where we're trying to keep things in the field for longer and not just be so endlessly disposable, it's an extremely admirable way of doing things.
Now, Linn has always had the reputation for being completely uncompromising for its products, right from concept through to delivery of the finished product, being quite discerning about the retailers where it chooses to place its products. Is that still the case?
Yes, although it's interesting that when you're dealing with a 50-year-old product in a basic design sense, certain aspects of the LP12 look extremely convenient compared to some modern rivals at similar price points. It's fairly compact. It has a lid. A lot of high-end turntables seem to exist in a world where dust, small children and pets do not. And LP12s are incredibly benign in that regard. But yes, the engineering inside it, Linn does things in the way that they see fit, and they have little to no interest in brokering compromise against their ideals. And Linn dealers are rigorously trained. And this matters in one specific regard when it comes to the LP12. An LP12 needs to be set up by someone who knows what they are doing. As I say, it's got springs in it. It is a classic example of a design where absolutely every mechanical facet of it makes a difference. Now, if you buy a Linn LP12 from a Linn dealer, they will do the job for you, and they have been trained in such a way that they will do the job for you properly. So yes, they are particular about what they do. They're particular about who they sell it, but there are reasons why it's done that way.
Now, with the Linn being such a high-spec piece of kit, does it only sound as good as what you connect it up to? Or is it quite forgiving? Does it play nicely with other non-Linn bits of kit?
Well, I reviewed this particular LP12 without another piece of Linn equipment in sight, and it was perfectly happy under those circumstances. It does benefit from decent partnering equipment. Linn has long been a proponent of a philosophy called front end first, where it doesn't matter how good the rest of your system is, if you are putting a substandard signal into it, there's nothing that you can do to recover that. With this in mind, yes, if you're looking at an LP12 in the spec that I looked at it in, the Select, which is over £12,000, by the nature of it being over £12,000, it's possibly not what you're going to look at to partner with budget equipment anyway. But yes, it will benefit from being partnered with relatively capable bits of partnering electronics, amps, speakers, etc. Don't work on the principle that you have to go for price parity with all of those components. Going back to things that have been said on the site before, turntables are mechanical engineering, and it's not easy to cheap out on that. So you can distribute the cost of a system less than proportionally equally and still obtain superb results. But yes, if you're looking at buying a £12,000 turntable, you want to make sure that the rest of the system is up to snuff.
Now, how important is the choice of cartridge? Does it need to be specifically matched to the turntable? And what did you test it with?
Right. The simple answer is no. It doesn't need to be completely matched. And the arm that Linn supplies on this LP12 and their other arms will work happily with a variety of cartridges. In this instance, I used a Linn cartridge, and one of the really beneficial reasons for doing that is that Linn arms, unlike most tone arms, have 3 holes for screws to which you mount a cartridge rather than 2. And if you use a Linn cartridge and you mount all 3 screws, the cartridge is perfectly aligned for the turntable without any further faff looking at geometry or protractors or anything like that. It just lines up. So you could use an LP12 with a huge selection of phono cartridges, but if you go in with Linn's range of them, they will work in a way that reduces the element of nagging uncertainty that you've done it right. So it is worth staying in-house for this one.
Thanks, Ed. And the full written review of this piece of kit, including the gory details of what music Ed actually took for a spin on the LP12, and I'm not going to divulge that here, is on the Sound Advice website.